Good morning. Welcome to Sunday School. Today we're going to learn about another prophet of God. Remember that a prophet was someone who spoke for God to the people. Most often, a prophet was warning the people of judgment to come and to turn back to God. But today we're going to learn about a prophet who brought words of comfort to one of the good kings of Judah, whom God had put there. Now, remember some of the prophets that we've talked about? We learned about Amos. He was a shepherd and a fig farmer. And he brought God's message of warning that God is just and he must punish sin. Do you remember the song we learned that goes along with that? It says, God must punish all our sins because he is just. How about if you stand up with me and sing that song with me? Ready? God must punish all our sins, all our sins, all our sins. God must punish all our sins because he is just. Well, we went on to learn about another prophet, and his name was Hosea. And while his message to turn back to God was the same, the way in which he delivered his message was different because Hosea showed love and forgiveness when he took his wife who had turned away from him and run away from him, when he forgave her and he loved her again. This was to show God's people that God would love them and forgive them if they would turn from their sins and turn back from him. We also studied about the prophet Nahum. Can you say that? Nahum. And Nahum prophesied not against God's people of Israel, but against the Assyrians, who were a wicked and cruel people, who again were not worshiping God alone. And God was going to be punishing them, and he did. Do you remember all the way back now to when the kingdom of Israel used to be one, and now because of Solomon's sin, it was divided into two parts. The northern part was called Israel, and the southern part was called Judah. Now they each had a king, and all of the kings in the northern part of Israel, every one of them was bad. None of them worshiped God alone and followed him. In the southern kingdom of Judah, even there, most of the kings were bad, but a few of them were good. A few of them worshiped God alone. We should worship God alone. We've learned that over and over again. There should be no one or no thing that is more important to us in our life than God. He should have first place. Let's sing our song, We Should Worship God Alone. We should worship God alone, God alone, God alone. We should worship God alone, for he alone is worthy. Do you remember what happened to Assyria? That is the country that Nahum prophesied against. But Assyria was the country, the nation that came in and destroyed the northern tribe of Israel because of God's judgment for their sin. They carried the people off to other lands. They brought other people in to live in their land. Well, today we're going to study about a good king from that southern part of Judah. And his name was Hezekiah. Can you say that? Hezekiah. The Bible tells us that he loved and worshiped God, and he wanted the people to love and worship God too. He took down the places where false gods and high places where idols were worshiped, and he wanted the people to worship God alone. In fact, the Bible tells us that there was no king like Hezekiah. Before or after him, he was the best king Judah ever had. Remember that Israel was taken away to Assyria. And remember that Assyria was wicked. They were a wicked and a mean and a cruel army. Well, the king of Assyria, he wasn't satisfied with just having the people from the north, from Israel. He wanted to come and take over the people in the southern part of Judah where King Hezekiah was king. He wanted to come and conquer them too. Now, that was bad, right? Hezekiah wouldn't want his people to be carried off to Assyria. We're going to read from the Bible and hear what the king of Assyria said to the people of Judah. Remember that King Hezekiah loved the Lord. He was a good king. And the king of Assyria was a bad king who did not love the Lord. The king of Assyria told lies about good King Hezekiah. Now, we're going to read today from the book of Isaiah. And Isaiah is one of the major prophets. It's a big book with lots of chapters, the book of Isaiah. Now, do you remember way back when we learned the books of the Old Testament? We had one verse that was about the major prophets. Let's sing that song together right now. So stand up with me, and we're going to sing the books of the major prophets. Ready? Let us sing the major prophets, major prophets, major prophets. Let us sing the major prophets. There were 5 of them all. Isaiah, Jeremiah, who wrote Lamentations, then Ezekiel and Daniel, who were true to their God. Did you hear that first one? Isaiah. That's where we're going to read today. And we're going to read from the book of Isaiah, chapter 36, verses 14 and 15. Listen to what it says there. Thus saith the king. Now this is talking about the king of Assyria speaking here. Let not Hezekiah deceive you, for he shall not be able to deliver you. Neither let Hezekiah make you trust in the Lord, saying, the Lord will surely deliver us. This city shall not be delivered into the hand of the king of Assyria. So the king of Assyria was telling lies about King Hezekiah. He knew what Hezekiah was going to tell the people. He knew that he would tell them, trust the Lord. And he said to the people, King Hezekiah, he even just called him Hezekiah, is lying to you when he says that the Lord's going to be able to deliver you out of the king of Assyria's hand. Well, the king of Assyria wanted the people to come away with him peacefully and leave King Hezekiah. You can imagine this made the people afraid. They were frightened. What do you think King Hezekiah would do? Let's keep reading in the book of Isaiah, chapter 37, and see what he did. It says, and it came to pass when King Hezekiah heard it, he rent, or he tore his clothes, and he covered himself with sackcloth, and he went into the house of the Lord. King Hezekiah went into the house of the Lord when he heard this news, and he was so troubled to hear the king of Assyria's message. He went to the house of the Lord to pray. Now, God used the prophet Isaiah to speak to Hezekiah, and he brought an answer to Hezekiah from the Lord. Now listen as I read from chapter 37, verse 6. Here's the answer. And Isaiah said unto them, thus shall you say unto your master, thus saith the Lord, be not afraid of the words that thou hast heard, wherewith the servants of the king of Assyria have blasphemed me. So what did the answer come from God? He said, be not afraid. Don't be afraid, Hezekiah. Don't listen to the words from the king of Assyria. Don't be afraid. Trust in God. Do you know what? That wicked king from Assyria, he did not give up easily. In fact, he came back again and he told the people again, don't trust Hezekiah. Don't believe him when he says that even God will be able to save you. And so, King Hezekiah, he trusted God again. Listen as I read to you from chapter 37, verses 15 and 16. Hezekiah is praying again. And Hezekiah prayed unto the Lord, saying, O Lord of hosts, God of Israel, that dwellest between the cherubims, thou art the God, even thou alone, of all the kingdoms of the earth. Thou hast made heaven and earth. King Hezekiah started his prayer to God by praying a prayer of adoration. He said, God, you are God alone. You made everything that there is, the heaven and the earth. You dwell in heaven, and there is no other God beside you. This pleased God, and God heard his prayer. Listen to verse 20. Now therefore, O Lord our God, save us from his hand, that all the kingdoms of the earth may know that you are God, you only. Hezekiah wanted everybody to know that God is the only true God. And God did save his people. He answered King Hezekiah's prayer. In a mighty way, God took care of the whole army of Assyria, and they did not even come into King Hezekiah's city. They went back to their own country. The king did, and he died there, but God took care of the whole army of Assyria. God is omnipotent. In order to fight that whole army, God sent his angel and destroyed them all. God is all powerful. He is omnipotent. And so he alone should be worshiped. You know, we can trust God to hear and to answer our prayers too, just like God heard and answered King Hezekiah's prayer. Now, today starts a new series of lessons, and so we're going to begin learning a new memory verse. And our verse, Mrs. Belanger, you want to listen to her video on that and begin to learn the verse, but I'm going to teach you a song that goes with our new memory verse. Our verse is, all we like sheep have gone astray. We have turned every one to his own way. And the Lord has laid on him the iniquity of us all. This comes from the book of Isaiah, the one where our lesson came from today. Isaiah 53 and verse 6. All right, so why don't you stand up with me, and you can listen to it the first time, and then we're going to sing it again. Okay? It goes like this. All we like sheep have gone astray. We have turned every one to his own way. And the Lord has laid on him the iniquity of us all. Isaiah 53 and verse 6. All right, now try that with me. We'll sing it each week and help you learn your memory verse. Okay, ready? Try it with me. All we like sheep have gone astray. We have turned every one to his own way. And the Lord has laid on him the iniquity of us all. Isaiah 53 and verse 6. See you next week.